Greetings, traveler. With the AI NPC future rapidly approaching, I was thinking about what is my wish list for all the things that I wish that these new and exciting AI NPCs can do for us. So today I want to share my 3-point checklist for what I hope all these amazingly high technology NPCs can do for us in games in the future. My name is Xanthos. I've been working in the games industry for over 13 years now. And when making games, one of the big struggles in development is to create NPCs that are vibrant and convincing enough to not only convey the story, but also support the player throughout their journey in the game. Lately though, not just with ChatGPT, but with all these emerging technologies, all these new ways to process language models and generate voice and all these wonderful things coming around, I noticed that yes, sometimes we can have AI-based NPCs who can talk about the moon and dogs and the weather and so on, but often they don't quite hit the point of making the game experience and making the player experience better through their dialogues. So let me share my 3 points for what I think will make the AI NPC experience much better. So here's the first one. The first is definitely relevant commentary. So I really hope that in the future we can see NPCs talking about something relevant to the current player path. By that I mean that when you go to an NPC and you say, hello, how's your day going? Talking about that NPC's, family and dog and job and house and so on, and carrying on with a conversation that is not relevant directly to the player's mission or goal or situation, I think is a wasted opportunity, because it's just a nice thing to have on the side. It's not that NPCs should never talk about these things, but they should be much less priority than actually supporting the player in their mission. So everything in the game presumably exists for a reason. And if the NPC's role is to just add some color to the player's experience, that's completely fine. But if the NPC's role is to support the player in their objectives, or hand the player the objectives, or talk about how to do something that the player doesn't know how to do, then I think that is a prime, juicy bit of content that the new AI NPCs will have the opportunity to deliver to the player. So let's go to the second one. For the second one, I wish that the NPCs have context awareness. So that means that when you talk to an NPC and you say something like, these arrows that you're selling, are they good for my bow? Then the NPC should have the context to provide an answer. So if the player is holding a bow and it's very obvious to the NPC and you're not trying to hide it in any way, and you say, for my currently equipped bow, are these arrows good or not? Or like, how good are they? What are the benefits that they will provide to me if I buy them from you? That context awareness, to have the NPC tell you specific information for your specific situation, is super duper important. So this goes beyond the NPC having enough information about the arrows and what they do and all their special abilities and how great they are and so on. That's good, but that's not nearly as important as the player's question, are these arrows good for my bow? Making specific and making it context aware will, at least in my view, vastly improve the experience of the player in the game. Another similar point on this is games often teach us things early on. So if we're going with the bow example, the game likely at some point taught you how to pick up the bow, how to equip the bow, I almost spilled my coffee, how to use the bow, target, and all that stuff. So when that tutorial, so to speak, happens, it's very early in the game. When you need that information, it might be months or years later when you pick up the game again and you continue from an old save file. It could be literally any amount of time that passed between the first tutorial and you playing the game right now. Very naturally, you might have forgotten how to use the bow, how to equip the bow, why bows are good versus swords, and so on. Being able to ask the NPC or some sort of authority in the game about something specific. Let's say you remember why bows are good, but you don't remember how to equip special arrows, for example. Being able to ask that question specifically is going to be so much more interesting and important and helpful than having to go to a website to look it up, or having to go to the in-game manual that talks about everything about bows and somewhere in there how to equip the special arrows. So that context awareness and hopefully remembering previous conversations the NPC had with the player, super important, super helpful, very much looking forward to that. So that brings me to the third point that I want to talk about, and that's the ability of the AI NPCs to have action initiative. So what does that mean? Up to now, this is beginning of 2025, surely we're going to see amazing things from now on, but up to now, most of the AIs need some sort of input from the user to give back an answer. You have to ask a question, you have to make a comment, and then the AI reacts to you. So I was thinking, how awesome would it be if the AI NPCs can tell you when something important happens? For example, let's say you're piloting a ship and you're running low on fuel, but because you're busy piloting the ship and avoiding all the dangers and so on, you're just not looking at the fuel. Wouldn't it be awesome if your chief mechanic or first mate or whatever of the ship would tell you, Captain, we're running low on fuel. Perhaps we can look for a refueling port. It seems that there is one, 50 kilometers away or whatever. Having that initiative, that ability to act on this event or this alert inside the game would be super interesting, because it's very high value information for the player. Not just because it's good to know how far the next refueling point is, but because essentially the game saved you from a situation where you just run out of fuel in the middle of nowhere, which would be bad, right? So having that initiative, I think, is super important. Another one I was thinking about was, when in some games there is an item and you mouse over it, or you move your cursor over an item and then, or over an ability, and then one of the NPCs in the game says a funny line or something like that. How awesome would it be to have context-aware AI NPC initiated lines being spoken when that event happens? So, for example, let's say you're looking at your inventory and you're moving your cursor over some special cannonballs, for example. Wouldn't it be cool if the weapon master, let's say in your ship, would say, these cannonballs, we can't use them right now, but if we get the XYZ special cannon, then they will pack a huge punch or something. Or, this item is very rare, we should give it to so-and-so workshop and they'll be able to do this awesome upgrade for our ship. So this kind of input is going to be so awesome for the player, because it's something you can ignore, right? If you're not interested, you don't need to do anything about it. But just hearing about it here and there kind of gives you new objectives about what to do. It also serves the role of that little text that we often see in game loading screens that give us little tidbits of information about the world. So stuff like that, but more relevant, more context aware, and hopefully not repetitive, like they are in many games at the moment, understandably so. So there's nothing wrong with that. But seeing that very, very fresh, very relevant input from the NPCs when something actually important happens, or when they think they have something to tell you, would be super cool. Anyway, that's three things that I was thinking about that are very, very much in my mind these days, seeing all the evolution in AI. So if you have relevant ideas like that, or if you are working on some really, really cool NPCs that can do amazing things, please let me know about it. If you can, of course, I'll be happy to jump in the conversation. Anyway, Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have fun.